Hey everybody, I'm the Ranting Monkey, and today I'm going to be repeating myself. I woke up this morning and checked my social media as I always do, and found somebody asking for my opinion. You guys know how I hate to share my opinion, but I am going to make an exception here. I was asked to respond to a comment directed at my video, How Criticism and Drama Keep Us from Becoming as SJWs. The comment reads,
Ranting Monkey. People are still being entertaining, but if the skeptic anti-SJW community just keeps repeating the same things over and over again, then it will become an ideological echo chamber. We are already seeing the beginnings of this now. Anyone that isn't on the regressive left somehow gets a pass, but the regressive left is sometimes called out for things they didn't even do. I recently saw a Salon article with the title asking if a certain actor from Star Trek, whose name I can't remember, had erased their reputation by being a righty-winger. The article concludes that his current beliefs can't take away from his legacy, but nobody right of center got past the headline. And when I tried to point this out, people got mad at me. Several people mocked me for even reading the article, one of which told me that I was licking my own balls for doing so, and one person blocked me for going through the trouble of fact-checking. You know, that's the thing we all love to laugh at SJWs for doing. Outside of that, I was widely ignored while people talked around me getting off about how horrible the left is. We have plenty of ideological purity groups outside of the far left. People who, while not the same kind of stupid, are just as stupid and brash as their opponents. But with how the skeptic narrative is focusing almost solely on the far left now, these kind of people are able to stew in their extreme hatred of anyone to the left of them, confident in the fact they have the entire skeptosphere dedicated to giving them more ammunition. Skeptics are supposed to challenge everyone to find if ideas have merit, not just bash the left. If you're out of material with the left, start going at the right or center until the left brings something new to talk about. We have ANCAPs, monarchists, MGTOW, fascists, and cultists to talk about. The world is full of ideas held up by stupid people, and we can bear to leave the left alone for a bit to confirm that, yes, Antifa aren't the only violent idiots out there, and we shouldn't be painting half the political spectrum as abominations when the other half has just as many reprehensible people. That's exactly what the SJWs are doing. They can permit violence against the right because all they hear is how evil Nazis are all the time. And the right, and to some extent the center, is starting to permit violence against the left because all they hear is how bad Antifa and SJWs are.
I'm going to disagree with you here, and I'm going to do my best to explain why. Let's start with William Shatner and that Salon article. William Shatner has a special place in the civil rights struggle. He and Nichelle Nichols shared the first interracial on-screen kiss on television. This was in 1968. The importance of that event cannot be downplayed. It was very controversial at the time. Short of him killing somebody, I don't see how you erase that. I don't see how there's even a question. But in the Salon world, it's okay to question that because he spoke out against social justice warriors. That was the crime worthy of asking this stupid fucking question in the first place. And their conclusion wasn't, oh, he's still a great guy. It's that as bad as he is now, it doesn't erase how good he used to be. Did you pay attention to the first part? As bad as he is now. Just because of his ideology, just because he doesn't agree with social justice, he's a horrible person. But not so horrible we have to erase that first kiss. Merely disagreeing with social justice makes him a bad person. That's the part you seem to be missing of that story, and probably why so many people gave you shit for it. We also need to look at what an echo chamber is. You said if the skeptic community just keeps repeating the same things over and over, it becomes an ideological echo chamber. Well, that's not how an echo chamber works. You get an echo chamber when you don't allow other ideas in, when you won't even consider them. You may be able to make the case that some skeptics are building an echo chamber, but the majority of the ones I've seen, even ones I disagree with, aren't in any kind of echo chamber. We repeat the same thing because we're answering the same arguments, not because we refuse to listen to any other ideology. In fact, we're making those same arguments because we are listening to the other side. They keep repeating the same stupid shit. And it needs to be answered every fucking time. And let's use an example to explain why. The wage gap has been so thoroughly debunked, it should cause people to break out into laughter anytime someone brings it up. Instead, we had two companies pay millions of dollars to run ads about it during the Super Bowl. If you only challenge a bad idea the first time it's brought up instead of every time it's brought up, it's going to become the accepted narrative. Most people who hear that women make 70% of what men do are never going to go look up the stats. They're never going to go see why. They're just going to accept it and go, oh my God, that's horrible. We need to fix this. It doesn't matter that it's not a problem. It doesn't matter how many of us have made videos pointing out how fucking stupid it is. They're only going to pay attention to the last thing they heard. They're not going to go see if I made a video about it 6 months ago. They're going to go with the newest information they have. If challenging a bad idea one time made it go away, we wouldn't even have social justice warriors right now. The reason we keep repeating arguments is because they do, and they need to be challenged when they do it. I don't know which skeptics you watch, but the idea that we should back off of SJWs is not a new concept. In the months after the election, several prominent anti-SJWs started talking about how they were going to leave the subject alone and start talking about bigger things. The argument generally went, we've already beat these guys, we need to move on. Well, the problem is we haven't beat them. We might have beat them back on YouTube, but the simple fact of the matter is they're still dictating policy. Hell, they're even dictating policy on YouTube now. The Anti-Defamation League gets to decide whether or not what I say is hate speech. You know, the same guys who decided Pepe is a Nazi. And they weren't kidding about it. You say that we can leave the left alone, and I'm wondering what world you live in. Over the last week, we saw the president berated and called a Nazi because he said there was violence on both sides in Charlottesville, which is an actual fact. But if you suggest that there was violence on both sides and that it was equally horrific, you're a Nazi yourself. This isn't some fringe belief. It's what's being pushed in the mainstream media. There were articles after Donald Trump gave his second statement where he specifically named the Ku Klux Klan and neo-Nazis, suggesting that he was still empowering those groups. When you say we need to be going after the right and the center, can you give me a single instance of where their fucked up beliefs are so mainstream? Where they're actually being pushed on the nightly fucking news? Finally, I'd like to directly address this part. We shouldn't be painting half of the political spectrum as an abomination when the other half has just as many reprehensible people. That's exactly what the SJWs are doing. Forgive me, but kiss my ass. Anytime there's disagreement in the skeptic community, somebody throws out the line that people are acting just like SJWs. And from my experience, it's a bunch of shit. And the same is the case here. If you think the only thing SJWs are doing is painting people in a bad light, you're just wrong. SJWs are pushing notions like speech can be violent. Do you understand the impact of that statement? What do we do to violent people? We put them in jail. We're getting very close to the idea that you can throw people in jail for their ideology, not for their actions, just for what they say and think. And that should scare the shit out of everybody because SJWs control the narrative. If you can show me a mainstream narrative from right-wingers or even centrists who are in any way close to this kind of shit, please point it out. I'll be happy to look at it. People disagreeing with you about the Salon William Shatner article doesn't quite meet that threshold. You use MGTOW as an example of somebody we should be going after. As insane as I find MGTOW, they're really not a threat to our way of life. I've clashed with them several times, and not once has any of them told me I shouldn't be allowed to speak. You're painting these two things as though they're the same. Because sometimes a skeptic might say something you disagree with, they're just like SJWs, and that's just fucking silly. Somebody blocking you over your opinion of that article isn't going to negate one of the founding principles of the country. The reason I don't spend all of my time running around looking for right or center or skeptic things to make videos about is because they're not the threat right now. Even as prominent as skeptics are here on YouTube, we're a very small chunk of what YouTube is. There's no skeptic out there with 10 million followers. People actually get elected to Congress saying stupid SJW shit. I have no problem with somebody who wants to call out a skeptic who said something stupid. Hell, if that's what you want to do, go do your thing. There's a few people like that trying to make a name for themselves right now. But I'm not going to get on board on a witch hunt for the right, the center, or skeptics to prove I'm somehow really skeptical. The simple fact of the matter is, social justice is not only a problem on YouTube, it's a problem in the world. If they get their way, people will lose their rights. In their world, it's okay to be racist as long as you're not a white racist. It's okay to limit speech as long as you're limiting the right speech. And horrific, unprovoked violence is okay as long as you do it to somebody who doesn't have the right ideology. I've had disagreements with skeptics in the past, and I likely will again in the future. But for the most part, the vast majority of my content will be aimed at SJWs. Because to me, they're the problem that needs fixed. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up this one. If you enjoy what I do here, please consider becoming a Patreon supporter for as little as $1 a month. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'm the Ranting Monkey, and I'll see you next time. Your life makes me sad.